Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk here today about smallmouth bass fishing in the state of Virginia. Here's a picture of a smallmouth, and as you notice, you can see that the stripes there, the vertical stripes on that smallmouth there are really pronounced. Some smallmouth bass, you can't see the stripes anywhere near as pronounced as they are on this smallmouth. Also, smallmouths, another name for smallmouth, people call them bronzebacks. And you can see that the color of this smallmouth here is very bronze. But once again, you can see that the stripes on this smallmouth is very, very pronounced. What I did, and I'm talking about smallmouth bass in the state of Virginia. What I did is I took a look at all the trophy fish citations issued by the state of Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. That's on their website. They're on there from the year 2000 to 2017, and I pulled all of those for smallmouth bass. They've got them in there for various different species of fish. Smallmouth bass being one, and then muskie, and then walleye, and then carp, and various catfish, and various other fishes. But what I'm specifically talking about today is the smallmouth bass fishery in the state of Virginia. So if you take a look at the top end of the weight records for smallmouth bass in Virginia, as you see there, you'll see that the top end of the weight record is right around 8 pounds. Now, the Virginia state record for smallmouth bass came out of New River, and it's 8 pounds and I think up around 15 ounces or something like that. The record, the national record, is something like 12 pounds. So smallmouth bass get a lot bigger than 8 pounds, but it's very unusual that you catch one above like 8 or 9 pounds. I mean, that's really a huge smallmouth bass, whereas largemouth bass go up to like 20-25 pounds. So as you can see from looking at the top end of the weight record here, one thing you need to note there, you're looking down through the bodies of water there, a whole bunch of those came out of New River. Smith Mountain Lake had one, James River had one, Shenandoah River had one, but the vast majority of those come out of New River. So the New River Fishery is one of the top fisheries in the state of Virginia for smallmouth bass. This is the top end of the length record for a smallmouth bass. And smallmouth bass are kind of like any other fish species. You really can't go by the weight or the length. You've got to go by actually both. And you can see here there's been some 26-inch smallmouths that were very slender, that didn't weigh that much. But if you get a real stocky, well-fed smallmouth up around 26 or 30 inches, you've got like a 10-pound fish or so. But these, the top end of the weight record here, these fish are pretty slender for, they're pretty slender fish. And generally what happens is a lot of times the records are caught during the spawn when the females are full of eggs, and what will happen is actually there can be like a pound or so, or maybe even a couple of pounds of difference in weight due to the females being gorged with eggs. And so after the spawn, a lot of times, especially with the males, and well, also the females too, they'll lose a lot of weight. So you'll have slender fish that don't necessarily weigh a whole lot. But if you take a look at the top end of the length record here, you can see some pretty long smallmouths that were evidently fairly slender. Take a look at the Virginia smallmouth bass trophy citations, and in order to get a citation for a smallmouth bass, they supposedly have to be over 20 inches. You take a look at the bodies of water there. You take a look down at Crater Lake. There's 234, and actually Crater Lake is part of the New River Fishery. The James River has 1448, so there's a lot of smallmouths in the James River. But look down at New River, and you'll see there's 2395. If you take a look at the rivers there, and then look at the lakes like Crater Lake and some of the other lakes, you'll find that smallmouth is really a fish that likes rivers and not lakes, whereas I think largemouths prefer lakes, but you also catch largemouths in stream, and you can also catch some largemouths in like New River. But New River is mainly famous for its smallmouths, and most of the bass in New River are smallmouth bass. Here's a picture of the state record smallmouth bass in the state of Virginia, and that's 8 pounds 1 ounce, and that was caught in 2003. If you go back here a couple of view graphs back, you can see that there was 2 8 pounds and 1 ounce, and one was this one that I just showed you the picture of, and they were both caught in 2003 by 2 different people. One was 22.5 inches long, the other one was 22. So that's the Donald Eaton, and you go back over and take a look, and Donald Eaton Jr. Definitely, so that's the one right there that they have a picture of. That's a state record. It was caught in 2003. Now, here's another picture of a smallmouth bass. And as I told you earlier about the one that we had where the stripes were really, really pronounced. We'll take a look at that one again. You can see how pronounced the stripes are. And then on this one over here, the stripes are nowhere near as pronounced. But this one is a bronze collar. And like I say, they call smallmouth bass bronze backs for the reason that they have this bronze collar to them. Smallmouth bass, if you take a look at Wikipedia there, it says the maximum recorded size is approximately 27 inches, and we took a look at the top end of the record here, and we were seeing like 26 inches, and we saw one that was 30 inches actually in the record, and 12 pounds. And I think the world record, I'll take a look, I've got some information on that here in a little bit, is up around 12 pounds. And it tells you that they're called smallmouth, bronzeback, brown bass, brownie, smallie, bronze bass, and bareback bass. So anyway, that's a little bit about the smallmouth bass from Wikipedia. Now you take a look at a largemouth and a smallmouth side by side. Largemouth on the left, smallmouth on the right. In this picture here, the smallmouth appears to be a little bit bigger than the largemouth, but you can definitely see the difference, whereas the largemouths have that lateral line running from its up around its gills down to its tail, and whereas the smallmouth doesn't. The smallmouth has those vertical stripes, but they're both kind of like a bronze color. But the smallmouth, I think, has a little bit more bronze color than the largemouth does. Going over this is Virginia smallmouth bass trophy citations per body of water. If you take a look at that, which I think maybe we took a look at that a little bit earlier, you take a New River by far has a lot more smallmouths than any other body of water in the state of Virginia. But the James River there has a good many smallmouths in it also. Trophy fish citations for New River during 2017. I only did the 1 year for this particular little view graph here, whereas all the other data that I've been talking about is for the years 2000 to 2017. So, but this tells you about the fishery, the New River Fishery, and the trophy fish citations that came out of New River in 2017. You see a lot of muskie citations, and also quite a few smallmouth bass citations also. Also a lot of catfish in New River. I personally caught catfish, flathead catfish. I caught one up to 4 feet long some years ago. So there's some big catfish in New River. Not a whole lot of citations for catfish because a lot of the catfishermen, they don't necessarily certify their catfish. They're not really sport fishermen, so to speak. They're more or less catching fish for table fare. So, and a lot of these other citations also are not necessarily sent in, whereas muskie and smallmouth and walleye, there's a lot of just trophy fishermen or sports fishermen go after them, and there's more citations issued for those particular groups than the other groups. Going over here to the next view graph. This is for New River, trophy fish citations for New River. Muskie, walleye, and smallmouth bass for the years 2000-2017. Muskie, there's 10,068, which was 65% of the state citations. The state trophy fish citations were 1,631 for all of those years, 2000 to 2017. Walleye, 205. It was 15% of the state citation. Smallmouth, 2395, 37% of the state citation. As I mentioned, James River has quite a few smallmouths in it also. So this shows you that New River is really one of the big fisheries in the state of Virginia as far as those 3 species of fish there are concerned. So that's why a lot of people come down to Southwest Virginia and fish New River, is because it has an abundance of trophy fish. And we just took a look at this one here. Let me go back and go on and take a look at this one. This is total fish citations for New River for the various different types of fish. You can see muskie, 48, and this was only in 2017. So once again, this has been about smallmouth bass in the New River fishery and also in the state of Virginia. So it looks like in the state of Virginia, if you want to go after smallmouths, either the James River or the New River fishery down in Southwest Virginia. James River, of course, up in central and northern Virginia. That's where most of your smallmouths are contained. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I appreciate you guys watching. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Thanks.